Hello, and welcome to another night of thrilling stories. Welcome to Matter Made Crazy. So kick back, flip your pillow, close your eyes, and refill your water, because tonight is about to fade away. You probably wouldn't stop at Hollow Creek Motel, not unless you had no other choice. Most people don't even notice it. The sign barely works, and the road leading to it feels like it doesn't belong on any map. But on certain nights it becomes easier to find, and those are the nights you shouldn't stay. It was around 2:17 in the morning when Daniel pulled off the highway. He hadn't planned to stop, but something about the road felt wrong. There were no other cars. The radio had gone completely silent. And no matter how long he drove, the same stretch of trees kept appearing over and over again. So when he saw the motel sign glowing faintly in the distance, he felt relieved. That was his first mistake. Inside, the lobby looked strangely untouched, like it had been frozen in time for decades. There was a bell sitting on the counter. Daniel rang it once. The sound was dull and short, like it had nowhere to go. A man appeared behind the desk. Daniel wasn't sure where he came from. 1 second the space was empty, and the next, the man was just there. He was smiling. Not in a friendly way. Not in an unfriendly way either. It was the kind of smile that didn't seem connected to anything real. "Room 6 is available," the man said. Daniel hesitated for a moment. He hadn't asked for a room yet, but he was too tired to question it, so he nodded. The man reached under the counter and placed a key in front of him. It was heavier than expected. Cold. Made of real metal. The number 6 was carved into it deeply, like it had been etched over and over again. As Daniel picked it up, the man spoke again. "Do not leave the room after 3 a.m. Daniel gave a small, tired laugh. The man didn't react. Room 6 was at the far end of the building. The walk there felt longer than it should have been. The lights above flickered softly, buzzing in a steady rhythm. When Daniel stepped inside, the room looked normal. Too normal. The bed was perfectly made. The air felt still. The television was already on, filled with quiet static. It wasn't loud, just enough to notice. Daniel checked the time. 2:51 a.m. He set his things down and lay on the bed, closing his eyes. For a while everything was quiet. At exactly 3 a.m., the television grew slightly louder, just enough to wake him. Daniel opened his eyes slowly and looked toward the screen. The static had started to shift. At first it looked random, but the longer he stared, the more it seemed intentional, like something was trying to take shape. Then he heard it. Footsteps. Outside his door. Slow and uneven. Moving back and forth along the hallway. Daniel sat up, suddenly awake. He remembered what the man had said. "Do not leave the room after 3 a.m. The footsteps continued. Back and forth. Back and forth. Then came the whispering. Soft at first, barely noticeable. But it grew clearer with each passing second. Multiple voices, overlapping each other. "Open the door. Just look. We know you're awake." Daniel stayed still. He didn't move. He barely breathed. The whispers stopped. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then the door handle shifted. Just slightly. It turned a fraction, then stopped. A few seconds passed. Then it moved again, slower this time. Daniel's eyes locked onto the door. He didn't dare get closer. Instead, he turned his head toward the television. And that's when everything changed. The static was gone. The screen was showing the hallway outside his room. Clear. Still. And standing directly in front of his door was someone. Daniel leaned forward slightly. His chest tightened. The figure on the screen looked exactly like him. Same face. Same clothes. Same expression. Except for one thing. It was smiling. The same unnatural smile as the man at the front desk. The version of Daniel on the screen tilted its head slightly. Then it spoke. "Let me in." Daniel didn't respond. He couldn't. The room felt colder. The air heavier. Then, suddenly, everything went quiet again. No footsteps. No whispers. Nothing. Daniel slowly looked toward the clock. 3:17 a.m. He stayed awake for the rest of the night. When the first light of morning finally came through the window, he got up and walked to the door. He hesitated for a moment. Then he opened it. The hallway was empty, completely still. Daniel stepped outside and made his way back to the lobby as quickly as he could. But when he got there, the man was gone. The desk was empty. The motel felt abandoned, like no one had been there for a very long time. On the counter there was a book, an old guest book. Daniel stepped closer and looked down at the pages. His name was written inside, over and over again, dozens of times. Each entry slightly different. Different handwriting, different dates, but always the same name, and always the same room. Room 6. If you ever find yourself driving alone late at night, and the road starts to feel unfamiliar, if the radio goes silent, and the same scenery begins to repeat, do not stop at Hollow Creek Motel, because if you do, you might already be there. Story 2. Most motels are forgettable. You pass them on the side of the road, barely noticing them. Faded signs, empty parking lots, curtains that never open. This one is different, because once you check in, you don't leave. No one remembers exactly where the motel is located. People only ever find it when they're already lost. That's how Marcus found it. It was late, later than it should have been. His GPS had stopped working nearly an hour ago. The road had narrowed into something that didn't even feel like a highway anymore. Just trees, darkness, and the same curve repeating over and over again. At some point he realized he hadn't passed another car in a very long time. Then the motel appeared. It wasn't there 1 second. And then it was. A dim neon sign flickered above the entrance. VAKNCV. The missing letters buzzed faintly like they were trying to come back on. Marcus pulled into the lot. There were cars parked outside, at least a dozen. All of them looked old. Not vintage, not restored, just abandoned. He stepped out of his car slowly. The air felt wrong, too still, like the world had been muted. Inside, the lobby was dimly lit. There was no music, no television, no sound at all, just a desk and a man standing behind it. Marcus froze for a moment. He was sure the desk had been empty when he walked in. The man was staring directly at him, unblinking. "You're just in time," the man said. His voice was calm, flat, like he had said those exact words too many times before. Marcus swallowed. "I just need a room for the night." The man nodded slowly. "Of course you do." He reached down and placed a key on the counter. "Room 9. Marcus frowned slightly. "I didn't." "Room 9, the man repeated. Marcus didn't argue. Something about the place made it feel like arguing wasn't an option. He picked up the key. It was warm, not room temperature, not cold metal. Warm, like someone had been holding it for a long time. As Marcus turned to leave, the man spoke again. "Do not look through the window." Marcus paused. "What?" But the man didn't repeat himself. He just kept staring, smiling slightly. Marcus walked outside, the key feeling heavier with every step. Room 9 was at the very end of the building. The last door, of course it was. The lights above flickered as he walked, each one buzzing louder as he passed beneath it. When he reached the door, he noticed something strange. There was no window, just a blank wall where the window should have been. Marcus hesitated. Then he unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room looked normal. A bed, a small table, a television, and a window. Marcus turned slowly. The window was there, perfectly normal, looking out into the parking lot. He frowned. He was certain it hadn't been there from the outside. For a moment he considered going back to the lobby, but exhaustion won. He set his things down and sat on the edge of the bed. The room smelled faintly, stale, like it had been closed for too long. Marcus checked his phone. No signal. 2:38 a.m. He lay back and closed his eyes. At first everything was quiet. Then came the sound, a soft tapping. Marcus opened his eyes. It was coming from the window. Tap, 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 slow, uneven, like someone was gently knocking from the outside. Marcus sat up. The parking lot outside looked empty, completely still. Tap, tap, this time, slightly louder. Marcus stood up. He remembered what the man had said. "Do not look through the window." He let out a small breath. "It's nothing," he muttered. "Just a branch, or loose glass." Tap, tap. Now it was rhythmic, intentional. Marcus took a step closer, then another. His reflection appeared faintly in the glass, but something was wrong. His reflection wasn't moving the same way he was. Marcus froze. The version of him in the window was slightly delayed, smiling just a little too long after he had stopped. Marcus stepped back quickly. His heart began to race. The tapping stopped. For a moment there was silence. Then the reflection leaned forward, closer to the glass, closer than Marcus was standing. And then it whispered. "You looked." Marcus stumbled backward. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier, the window darkened. Not like night, like something was blocking the other side. Then the knocking returned, louder now, faster, not tapping anymore, pounding. The glass began to shake. Marcus turned toward the door and rushed to it, grabbing the handle. It wouldn't open. He pulled harder. Nothing. Behind him the window cracked, a thin line spreading across the glass. Then another, and another. Marcus turned slowly. The reflection was gone. The window was completely black, but something was pressing against it from the other side. Something human-shaped. The cracks spread faster. The pounding stopped, and for 1 second, everything went completely silent. Then the glass shattered inward. Marcus screamed, and everything went dark. The next morning, the motel looked exactly the same. Quiet, still, waiting. A car sat in the parking lot. Engine cold. Driver's door slightly open. Inside the lobby, the man stood behind the desk, smiling. A new key rested on the counter. Room 9. And in the guest book,
A new name had been added, written slowly, carefully, as if guided by an unsteady hand. Marcus, if you ever find yourself lost on a road that doesn't feel real, and you see a motel that wasn't there before, keep driving. Do not stop. Do not go inside. And whatever you do, do not look through the window, because if something looks back, it won't be your reflection anymore. Story 3. Most hotels have a fourth floor. They just don't always admit it. Some remove the button, some skip the number entirely. But in this hotel, the button is there, and sometimes it lights up on its own. Ethan noticed it the moment he stepped into the elevator. The buttons read 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 4. He pressed 6. The doors closed. The elevator moved. Then it stopped. The number 4 lit up. Ethan frowned. He hadn't pressed it. The doors opened slowly. The hallway beyond was dark. No lights, no sound, just a long corridor stretching farther than it should. Ethan didn't step out. He reached for the closed door button. It didn't work. Something moved in the hallway, far away, walking toward the elevator, slowly, dragging its feet. Ethan hit every button. Nothing responded. The thing kept getting closer, its shape unclear, but wrong. The doors finally closed. The elevator jerked upward. When Ethan reached his floor, he ran to his room. He didn't sleep. The next morning, he asked the front desk about floor 4. The clerk looked confused. There is no 4th floor. Ethan laughed nervously. I saw it. The elevator stopped there. The clerk's expression didn't change. It doesn't stop there, she said. Then she leaned closer. Not unless something calls it. Story 4. Lena checked into the hotel just before midnight. It was quiet. Too quiet. She didn't mind. Until she heard the knocking. It started around 2 a.m. Soft at first. From the room next door. A steady patter. Knock. 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 Pause. Then again. Lena tried to ignore it. But it didn't stop. For hours. Eventually she called the front desk. Can you ask the person next door to keep it down? There was a pause. Then the receptionist spoke carefully. There is no one in that room. Lena frowned. I can hear them knocking. Another pause. Then quieter this time. Do not answer it. The knocking changed. Louder now. More urgent. Knock. 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 Then a voice. Faint. Right through the wall. Please, let me out. Lena backed away. The knocking stopped instantly. Then came a single knock. From her side of the wall. Story 5. The hotel gave Jacob a single keycard. Room 214. Nothing unusual. Until he realized it worked on every door. At first he thought it was a mistake. A glitch. He tested it again. Room 215. Unlocked. Room 216. Unlocked. Every door opened, and every room was empty. Completely identical. Same bed. Same layout. Same faint smell. Except for one thing. Each room had a suitcase, placed neatly at the foot of the bed. Jacob opened one. Inside were clothes, toothbrush, shoes, personal items. Like someone was staying there. He checked another room. Another suitcase. Different contents. Same setup. Then he noticed something. In every room, the bathroom door was closed. Jacob felt a chill. He walked into the nearest bathroom. Slowly, the mirror was fogged, like someone had just taken a shower, and written across the glass were the words, "You're not supposed to be here." Jacob ran back into the hallway. All the doors were open now. Every single one. And inside each room, something was standing in the bathroom, watching him. Story 6. The hotel had one rule. Checkout was at 3 a.m. Not noon, not morning. 3 a.m. No exceptions. Sophia thought it was strange, but she didn't question it. At 2:59 a.m., an alarm rang in her room. A voice followed. Please exit your room. Sophia grabbed her things, opened the door. The hallway was filled with people, all silent, all walking toward the exit. At exactly 3 a.m., the lights flickered, and some of the guests stopped moving. Mid-step. Frozen. Sophia turned. Their faces were wrong, smiling too wide, eyes unfocused. The voice came again. Those who remain will stay permanently. Sophia ran. Behind her, footsteps didn't follow. They just stopped. Story 7. Every room had a mirror. Nothing unusual, except it didn't show you. Not exactly. When Daniel looked into it, he saw himself. But behind him, someone else, standing in the doorway. He turned. No one there. Back to the mirror. The figure was closer, watching him. Daniel left the room, checked out immediately. The next day, he couldn't stop thinking about it. So he went back. Same room, same mirror. This time, the person in the reflection wasn't behind him. It was standing where he was, looking directly out, smiling. And behind it, someone new had just entered the room. Story 8. The TV had no channels, just one feed. Room 312, live. At first it was empty. Then someone walked in, a man, carrying a suitcase. Looking around nervously, Maya watched for hours. The man never left. He just stayed, sitting, waiting. Then he looked up, directly at the camera, at her, and spoke. "You're next." Maya turned slowly. Her room was 312, story 9. It was late when Aaron went to get ice. The hallway was empty. The machine hummed softly. He pressed the lever. Something fell into the bucket. Heavy. Wet. Not ice. Aaron looked inside. It was a room key. Dozens of them. All stamped with different numbers. All scratched. Worn. Used. The machine rattled again. More keys fell out. Then something else. A hand. Cold. Still. Gripping another key tightly. Story 10. Nina checked into her room. Everything seemed normal. Until she pulled back the covers. Someone was already lying there. Perfectly still. Eyes closed. Breathing slowly. Nina froze. She backed out of the room. Went to the front desk. "There's someone in my bed." The clerk nodded. "Yes." Nina blinked. "What do you mean?" "Yes, they were there first." Nina shook her head. "That's not possible." The clerk slid another key across the counter. "Try another room." Nina opened it. Same thing. Someone in the bed. Every room. Every bed. Occupied. Sleeping. Waiting. Story 11. The hallway seemed normal during the day. Short. Simple. But at night, it stretched. Mark walked toward his room, but it never got closer. The numbers kept changing. The lights dimmed behind him. One by one. Something moved in the distance. Far down the hall. Walking toward him. Mark turned to run. But the hallway behind him had disappeared. Just more doors. More numbers. More distance. And the sound of something getting closer. Story 12. The hotel had a digital sign behind the front desk. It displayed room availability. But when Claire checked in, it showed something else. Her name, next to a time. 3:42 a.m. She frowned. "What is that?" The clerk didn't hesitate. "That's when your stay ends." Claire forced a smile. "Check-out time?" The clerk shook his head. "No." Claire laughed nervously. "That's not funny." The clerk didn't smile. "It isn't meant to be." At 3:41 a.m., her phone stopped working. At 3:42 a.m., someone knocked on her door. Exactly once. Claire didn't answer. The handle turned anyway.